Hello, all of you. Here we begin with day 20 of GST classes, and chapter we are beginning is most, simple topic. You can say that is chapter 8. That is your tax invoice. Okay, it's like all about documents. In GST, what documents we see around us and how they are used. That's what we are doing. We have completed registrations in 3 classes, how when it is amended, when registration is mandatory, what is the procedure, what is the change in the core areas and all. We have finished ITC. Little late I got, so no music, nothing. Today I went to file my own return. And it is real super fun to see. I'm not filing my own return, please. I go to my colleague because you cannot be an expert in all the field. To be very honest, I don't know the online websites and syncing it with the 26 AS and how, annual information from the 26 AS, they are checking for every SSE. So that if something you have not shown and it is seen over there, they can cross verify, right? It was a nice experience, and I want to share my experience that I had long-term capital loss brought forward. Okay. And short-term capital loss brought forward. And this time I had long-term capital gain. So long-term capital gain of GST के class में discuss करेंगे क्योंकि आपको पढ़ाया अगर समझ में आए तो. So in this year's long-term capital gain, I have sold a property. I have set off long-term capital loss. So I said short-term capital loss brought forward can also be set off. He said no. Last year within the same head you can do a juggling. But once you brought forward it, it is the same for all the heads. Brought forward business loss, business income loss, brought forward house property, short term, long term. So brought forward short term capital loss my own, we were not able to set off in the long term capital gain. So this is a very small example, but things are so beautiful practically, and what we are learning, TDS, TCS, income tax, GST. So today's class is all yours. You go for a shopping, and have you seen how the invoice or the bill is printed by the store when you buy? You go to Adidas showroom and there it is written Soham apparels or footwears, and it's a part of the Adidas and how they issue the tax invoice. What all details are written on the tax invoice? We go to restaurant, they charge 5%. And how they are making the bill. If we buy those schemes, 1 + 1 free, then how they are doing the billing. So, chapter 8 we will do in 2 parts. Why is it very simple but very important? Last 3 exams consistently, May 22, November 21 and May 21. Last 3 exams consistently, they have been asking 5 marks theory question from this chapter. And it's all about the new additions, e-way bill, e-invoicing and QR code. These are the 3 latest addition in the documentation of tax invoice, which we are going to do in tomorrow's class. Today also what we are doing are asked in commenting simple question, and it is, what do you mean by tax invoice? Keep your running notebooks open. Registration we were reading most of the time, but today we are going to make our own notes, then only we will remember. And it is overlapping. Today I am teaching you what is the time limit to issue the tax invoice, which we have already done in the chapter 3 levy section 9. The GST we are liable to pay when the invoice is issued, and invoice is issued as per section 31. So we have already done today's half class in chapter 3, and another half part for today. When he is liable to pay the tax, that time he can issue revised tax invoice. All that we have done in registration chapter, the one which is last over. So what all documents do we see in a business people scenario related to GST? Tax invoice. If you are a composite dealer who is supplying the goods in section 10, you cannot collect tax from others. You have to pay quarterly tax out of your pocket. So composite dealer cannot issue tax invoice, he will issue bill of supply. Then there are cases wherein consolidated tax invoice is issued, revised tax invoice is issued, and then When I get advance from my parties against which I need to supply the goods, I use receipt voucher. I have received with thanks from Pravalika this much money. So it's a receipt voucher. Okay, I received and I had to supply the goods, but something went wrong and I said, sorry, this I won't be able to fulfill. I'm refunding the payment. Refund voucher. Sometimes it's not possible to issue the invoice, then delivery challan. For example, transporter के केस में delivery challan है तो भी चलेगा. So there are different kind of documentation: tax invoice, consolidated invoice, revised invoice, e-invoicing we'll do tomorrow, delivery challan, refund voucher, receipt voucher. So these are the documents we are going to do today. And most important, from which many times question is asked, and we will link and study debit note and credit note with accounts. If you have solid base accounting knowledge of foundation, you know what are the cases wherein debit note is issued, what are the cases in which credit note is issued. It's like very common logics. Okay, layman's term. So these are the documentation. Actually, it's simple. I can read the theory and you can remember. Tomorrow is not tough. Tomorrow is new editions. But rather than reading, I want you all to write in your own way and then we will start reading. So please open your notebooks directly in today's class and let us begin with chapter 8. नाम तो होना चाहिए था documentation, लेकिन नाम है tax invoice, debit note and credit note. Debit note and credit note. Are you all with me? Chale? So we are going to talk about what? Tax invoice. Who can issue the tax invoice? Registered dealer, registered supplier can issue the tax invoice. In case of RCM, who will issue the tax invoice? Recipient. Recipient is liable to pay tax to government, so he will issue the tax invoice. Clear, right? So tax invoice is clear. Then we have bill of supply. I want all of you to write these one-liners so that you can attempt commenting question. Tax invoice, write down please. Issued by registered supplier or dealer. Bill of supply means when you are supplying exempted goods or composite supplier. You know, there are some suppliers who just supply exempted goods. They cannot issue tax invoice. क्योंकि टैक्स चार्ज ही नहीं करना है, goods ही exempted है. So they can exempted goods or composite supply. What they will issue? Bill of supply. Then we have revised tax invoice. Sometimes you are liable to pay tax now, but registration is granted from later date. So revised tax invoice is issued for all the bills from date of liability. I'll give example for all this in detail, but it's simple one-liner लिख रहे हैं. From date of liability to date of grant of registration. फर्क है ना? If I am liable today and if I apply within 30 days, I am said to be a registered dealer from today, even if I apply within 30 days. But the registration will be granted later date. So for these days, revised tax invoice. Sometimes consolidated tax invoice. Other party, where buyer is unregistered. Buyer registered ही नहीं है. या amount is less than rupees 200. And buyer doesn't want bill not needed. So we will, you know, कभी कभी cash sale होता है. नहीं दीप्ति मैम ने बोला इनवॉइस 50 रुपए 60 रुपए. No, whole day sales you write and one consolidated tax invoice you can issue for the whole. Bill not required. In those cases, what document you will prepare? Consolidated tax invoice, revised tax invoice. Then what else we have? There are cases wherein just with the help of delivery challan, you will go on. Okay. So these are all the documents. और भी है ना, थोड़ा सा और लिखते हैं. Receipt voucher. Receipt voucher. When advance, are you all listening and writing with me? When advance is received by supplier. Supplier has got advance. I hope you all remember, on advance of goods there is no GST. Advance against the goods which I have to supply, there is no GST, but advance of services GST is there. तो उसके लिए क्या आएगा? Receipt voucher. Then what it is? Refund voucher. If the advance is returned back, advance returned, no supply. Neither I am supplying you goods nor I am supplying your advance. Refund कर दिया, return. तो refund voucher use होता है. और consolidated तो आपको लिखा है ना, या debit note. पार्टी टू सेल्स, पार्टी को क्या करते हैं? डेबिट. तो इफ द सेल इज अंडर रिकॉर्डेड, now you want to change the invoice and all, so debit note, credit note. In case of sales return, or you can say discount. I've sold you the goods of 100, you are paying 80 in full and final settlement. 20 is not sales. Why do I pay GST on that? Please write the basic meaning. I'm going to talk about each and every item in detail in today's class. Debit note to sales is under recorded is one example. I'll give more. Credit note. And then we have e-invoicing, latest edition, e-way bill, and QR code, dynamic QR code. You know QR code scan करते से बैंक नेम, बैंक ऐसे वो अपने आप वो आ जाता है वो QR code पे, and directly it goes on to your, the payment goes in your bank account. So these are all the documents we are going to. Should I scroll up? करो, लिखो. I'm here only. Just write the basic meaning is enough. I'll give you all the examples right now. Really sorry for this sound. चलो देखो, कोई डाउट है तो पूछो. Just the simple meaning of these documents should be clear. When each document is used. Second, first we will know. Second is ingredients. Ingredients, if we know in brief also, it is okay. Okay? So let us begin all this. And the first thing we will do is tax invoice. Tax invoice. इसको flowchart बना रहे हैं हम. We have already made these flowchart in levy chapter, but still I want all of you to make again. Tax invoice in case of goods. Taxable goods अगर आप supply कर रहे हो and registered supplier हैं, so you'll have to issue for taxable goods, for taxable services. Time limit for issue of tax invoice. Time limit for issue of tax invoice by registered supplier. तो आप taxable supply कर रहे हैं. case of goods, two things. First one is involving movement of goods. पहले आप लोग फ्लो चार्ट बना लो. I will explain and we'll work out the problems also. Time limit for issuing the tax invoice. And when there is a movement of goods, means I have to send you the goods. Then what is the time I should issue the invoice? At the time of removal. When I have to send the movement of goods, means it's my duty to send the goods to the recipient. So the time I remove the goods from my godown. Second is no movement of goods. No movement of goods means I'm not going to supply the goods to the recipient. Recipient, I'm selling in Hyderabad. चाहिए तो आके हमारे गोडाउन से लेके जाओ. So I am not removing the goods. But when you come to my godown, there is no movement of goods. I am giving the goods only at my godown. But am I delivering the goods to you or making you available? Then invoice should be issued at the time of delivery. Are you all with me? If it involves movement and ये सब किया है ना daily chapter में section 9 में. And no movement of goods means at the time of delivery. And on sale or return basis. You know, I'm just selling the goods to you on sale or return basis. Then at the time of supply means time of supply acceptance, means the day you accept it. Time of supply doesn't mean when I am sending. When I am sending, dear students, you have not accepted the goods. पसंद आएंगे तो रखोगे, नहीं तो वापस दोगे. So time of supply means the time of supply is acceptance by the buyer or 6 months from date of removal. 6 months from the date of removal. All clear to all of you? Time of supply acceptance of 6 months from the date of removal. Nice, clear. Chalo. So these are the cases in case of goods. Now, if you are supplying, giving services, what is the time when you should issue the invoice? Within 30 days. Within 30 days from date of service. Within 30 days from date of service, invoice should be issued in case of taxable service. अगर एडवांस आया तो एडवांस पे भी इनवॉइस और जीएसटी सब लगेगा. 45 days, 30 days will become 45 days in case of banks, all banks, NBFCs and all, and insurance company. हो गया. I know, ma'am, this is all written, and then why you are making us write again? Because questions are asked. MCQs इधर उधर ये अच्छा topic है. Very easy also. In case of services, within 30 days of rendering the service, tax invoice should be issued. 30 days will become 45 days if the service providers are banks and insurance companies. Banks को तो बहुत benefit है. Some of the cases they can issue quarterly invoice, and invoice में जरूरी भी नहीं है सब कुछ अलग 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 लिखना. In case of goods involving movement of goods, the day goods are removed, no movement the day delivery is given, sale or return basis, so you all know. Yes, sale or return basis it is. The time of supply means the date you accept it or 6 months. 6 months time is enough now for you to accept. Chalo, now I begin reading the chapter. Definitions I have given dear students, but we already know all these definitions. What do you mean by continuous supply of goods services? ये सब हमने कहाँ देखा था? In the third chapter only. Right. And tax invoice का importance क्या है? If you can issue the tax invoice, the other person can take input tax credit. You are the registered supplier. You show it in your GSTR1 in the outward supply, auto-populated in GSTR2A, 2B for the buyer. So many benefits are there for issuing the tax invoice. Now I can go little fast. Provisions relating to tax invoice in respect of supply of goods. Section 31, which we have done in value and time of supply. Time of supply is the date on which invoice should have been issued. You remember? Right? So a registered person supplying taxable goods shall issue tax invoice, the quantity description and all, tax charge thereon, and such other particulars as may be prescribed. Tax charge thereon and such other particulars as may be prescribed. ठीक है ना? Registered person supplying taxable goods shall issue a tax invoice showing description and all. Now, time limit for issuing the tax invoice under section 31(1). Removal of goods for the supply where supply involves movement. Movement है तो the day you remove it, and in any other case, delivery of the goods. Rim Traders Hyderabad supplies goods to Gym Agencies Delhi. Goods were removed from its godown in Hyderabad on 20th October. Rim Traders needs to issue tax invoice on 20th October. The day you remove the goods from your godown, you need to issue a tax invoice. Clear to all of you? क्योंकि goods जा रहे हैं ना, तो removal of the goods के साथ invoice होना जरूरी है. Tax invoice to be in the prescribed time in respect of notified goods. Government may on recommendation by no specified category of goods in respect to which tax invoice shall be due in versatile time if they wish to. Removal in relation to means dispatch of goods for delivery by supplier thereon by any other person acting on behalf of the supplier. So you buyer might take the goods through his agent in Hyderabad. So when I give the goods to the agent, dispatch of goods, that's the date of removal. Collection of the goods by recipient or by any other person. Recipient can himself or send his agent to collect the goods from my godown. That is the date goods are removed, and that is the day I should issue invoice. Tax invoice shall include revised tax invoice. What is it? We will see. Chalo, let us see this question. Answer is written so that you write this language in exam. Chheda Limited entered into contract with Pranav Traders for supply of machinery on 10th September. Spare parts were to be delivered on 30th of September. Chheda Limited removed the goods on 29th September ताकि 30th को उसको मिल जाए. And this agreement was decided on 10th only. Determine the date by which invoice must be issued, 29th September. The day you remove the goods from your godown, the movement starts and you are liable to issue the invoice. As per provisions of section 31, invoice should be issued before or at the time of removal of the goods from the for supply to recipient, where supply involves movement of goods. Accordingly, invoice must be issued by 29th September. Because that is the day I remove goods from my godown. Here, removal of the goods when the supply involves movement of the goods. Is this example clear? Just give me 1 second, please. Thank you for waiting. पूछो, कोई भी डाउट है तो पूछो. इसको ना ऐसे माइंड फ्रेम में you have to put with the flow chart with the example. If there is movement of goods, the day goods are removed. जिस दिन मैंने आपको नहीं, I may not give it to you, I may give it to your agent or my agent or whatever. But goods are removed, no, with invoice. And if there is no movement, then the day I deliver the goods to you, you come and take it from my godown, the day I deliver to you, that's the day when invoice should have been issued. Yes? Now, can there be continuous supply of the goods? Yes, like LPG gas, or another example for continuous supply of the goods is water bottles. In a company, 20 liters water bottles are called every month, every week, and the billing is done on monthly basis. So continuous the goods are supplied. बेचते रहते हैं, every month we get phenyl. We have done 12 months contract. हमारे office में जो भी tissue papers, phenyl and all is required, that is supplied by a person every month. So when they are supplying it every month, what should be continuous supply of goods is not stopping. Stop. पहले tax invoice बना देते हैं. So in case of continuous supply, generally you have a due date that every 5th of the next month bill will be issued, or payment date is fixed. You pay me 7th of the next month, whichever is earlier. Continuous supply of goods means supply of goods which is provided or agreed to be provided continuously under a contract, whether or not by means of wire, cable, pipe and all, and includes supply of goods as government may decide. In case of continuous supply, where statement of accounts or payments are involved, invoice shall be issued at the time of each statement issued, or as the case may be, payment is received. जो भी है, either statement is issued or each payment is received, whatever it is. yes. समझ में आया? Continuous supply is going out first month, second month, third month. Then the day payment is received every month or quarterly or whatever, or the day statement is issued. Every day tea coffee comes from Nilofer Cafe. Chalo, ek example. So Nilofer Cafe gives us bill every third of the next month. So that is the day ki last मेरे कितनी चाय आई हमारी office में. So that statement is the date when invoice should be issued. When you issue a statement, you issue the invoice, no? Right or not? Or when payment is received. मैं statement दूं या ना दूं, मैंने बोल के रखा है कि every 5th you have to make me the payment. The day you make me payment, I should issue you the bill. In case of approval basis and all, before or at the time of supply, I want all of you to write, please. This is in case of approval. So time of supply is date of acceptance. This is the hidden meaning. Time of supply doesn't mean the day I send the goods. पसंद आए तो रखना, उसका कोई मतलब ही नहीं है. Time of supply is the day you accept it, or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. Now tax invoice in case of services. Just now I told you. Registered supplier who is giving taxable service will give tax invoice with description, value and all. Issuance of invoice. पहले ये करेंगे. Within 30 days. Invoice referred to in Rule 46 in case of taxable supply service shall be issued within a period of 30 days from supply, and this will become 45 days in an insurance or banking company, including a non-banking period within invoice or any other document to be issued in 45 days. So for banks and all, it is 45 days. Okay? Now here one thing is issuance of invoice at the time of cessation of supply. Sometimes supply stopped. We may be supplying goods or services, but then the contract break ho gaya, beech mein hi ruk gaya. So the day it is stopped, are we liable to issue invoice ki yahan tak ka okay? I am giving you taxation coaching for 4 months, and it's an agreement. Every first you make part payment to me. 6,000 is the fees. 1,500 you make 4 months payment. Now, after 2 months are over, you have stopped. You said, no, I don't want to do CA, ma'am. I don't want to take the coaching. Okay. 2 months, shall I issue you the invoice and are you liable to pay the fees? Yes. In case where the supply of service ceases under a contract before the completion of the supply, invoice should be issued at the time when supply ceases, and invoice shall be issued to the extent of supply made before such cessation. जिस दिन स्टॉप हुआ वहां तक का जो बिल है वो बना के आपको देना पड़ेगा. दिस इज एप्लीकेबल फॉर ऑल. Okay, otherwise in case of services, how much time is given? 13. Are you all feeling this? We have done very thoroughly in section 12 and section 13. Time of supply for goods, time of supply for services. वहाँ हमने ये किया है, and we have also done it in the levy chapter. चलो. Now a latest addition is an insurance or banking company, financial institute, NBFCs, telecommunication operator, or class of supplier of service has been notified on recommendation of council making supplies of services between distinct persons with the same PAN card. Different branches are there for the banks, for the telecommunication operators and all, may issue invoice before or at the time supplier records the same in the books of the accounts, or before the expiry of the quarter during which supply was made. अब ये क्या बात है? ये latest addition है. First of all, what is distinct person is clear. With the same PAN card, can we have different branches in different states or within the same state? Yes. Within the same state also PAN same hai, but for branches, can we have separate registration? Yes. They are called distinct entity. Can one branch supply the goods to another? Yes. Then shall they issue invoice distinct entity के बीच में if there are business transactions, stock transfers, anything? Is invoice necessary? Answer is yes. When the time limit of invoices, when the supplier records these transactions in the books, or before the expiry of the quarter. You all know what is quarter? April, May, June is a quarter. July, August, September is a quarter. October, November, December is third quarter. January, February, March is fourth quarter. So before the expiry of the quarter during which the supply was made, you need to issue the invoice. ठीक है? Quarter खत्म होने के पहले, or when the supplier records the transaction in the books. Yes, party debit to sales or party debit to services or whatever. When I have recorded, I will issue the invoice or before the quarter end. Like you have continuous supply of goods, you have continuous supply of services. For example, internet bill. I get every month post-paid internet bill. Internet तो चलते रहता है ना, but then every 30th day they make the bill and they send me. So continuous supply of service का meaning देख लो पहले. A supply of service which is agreed to be provided continuously on recurrent basis for a period exceeding 3 months with periodic payment and includes supply of such service as government made subject to condition notified. Now, where due date of payment is ascertainable from the contract. आप सर्विस दे रहे हो, but then due date is fixed. That in this kind of the Wi-Fi service, I mean say the Wi-Fi internet services, the bill, the due date of the payment is fixed. Every 50th to May. So invoice should be issued before the due date of payment. If payment is not decided, invoice should be issued at the time when supplier of the service receives the payment. Or due date नहीं है, payment नहीं है, where the payment is linked with completion of an event. Invoice should be issued before the completion of that event. For example, we are going to host a fashion show on so and so date. So that is an event. So whatever services I have rendered for fashion show, say catering, this, I am an event manager. So before that event, yeah, invoice should be issued, whatever services I have rendered. So in case of continuous supply, what is, and these events are also continuous. Every month I keep on holding seminars in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, in Chennai, in Mumbai. तो एवरी सेमिनार का जो भी बिल होगा वो सेमिनार खत्म होने से पहले तो इशू कर देना चाहिए ना. So once again, please see, in case of continuous supply of services, where due date of payment is ascertained, then invoice should be issued before the due date. If due date is not there, the day you make me the payment, due date भी नहीं है, पैसे भी नहीं है, then wait till the completion of the event. You want to write this also in notebook or clear? In case of continuous supply of goods, क्या बोला आपको? Continuous supply of goods here. Here it is. Before or at the time such statement is issued or the payment is received. पैसे आ गए या statement issue किया, whichever is earlier. और यहाँ पे in case of continuous supply of service, before or at the time the supplier records the same in the books, or really sorry, वो तो banks और insurance के लिए. Continuous supply of services में due date of the payment. If the recipient is making payment on every due date to the supplier. If due date is not there, then when the payment is actually received. And if not, then on the completion of the event. Yes? Read this example. Rohan Limited entered an AMC for repairs of the machinery fitted in factory of Soham Limited. As per the contract, payment for the said service has to be made on 7th April. Yes. However, Soham Limited made the payment on 25th April. Since services were provided by Rohan to Soham in a continuous and due date of payment is ascertained. Due date of payment is 7th. जब due date fixed है, तो every due date I need to issue you the bill. If due date is not there, then date of payment, as and how the recipient of service is giving payment to supplier. So here the due date is decided. Payment बाद में हुआ तो क्या हुआ? Due date is the date when invoice should have been issued by the service provider. Take your time, read the example. You want more example for all the three or clear? One more example? Sure है. पढ़ लिया पहले ये? I'll give my example. I'm giving you 4 months coaching and I say, dear students, every third of the next month you need to pay 25% of fees for the coming 4 months. So is the due date of payment fixed? 3rd of August, 3rd of September, 3rd. That is the date when I should issue you invoice for 25%. If due date is not fixed, fixed ही नहीं है due date तो, then कोई due date नहीं है. So the day you make me payment, कोई 3rd को payment कर रहा है, कोई 5th को. Whenever you make me payment, I will issue you the invoice. Fees received from Soham, fees received from Lakhan, fees received from Pravalika. Are you getting? Right? Now, if due date is not there and you are not even making payment, 4 महीने हो गए कोचिंग को, आपने फीस ही नहीं दिया, तो the payment should be linked to event. What is that event? Completion of the portion. Till then, so I should issue you the invoice. No, I'm not teaching free. So these are the ways. Ma'am, if you are giving advance में ही fees, then I'm liable to pay the GST that same month because this is advance against services. I'm giving you 6 months coaching and I'm taking 20,000 in advance. I'm liable to pay GST now, issue the invoice and finish. So when there is supply of services and advance is received, I'm liable to pay GST. If it is supply of goods and advance is received, I'm not liable to pay GST. ठीक है? An issuance of invoice when services ceases before its completion, same. अगर सर्विस कंप्लीशन होने के बीच में रुक गया, then the invoice shall be issued at the time when supply ceases and invoice shall be issued to the extent of supply before cessation. ठीक है? Right. Now, that's all for tax invoice. Is the gist clear to all of you? When the tax invoice should be issued for goods, when the tax invoice should be issued for services, 30 and 45 days, continuous supply of goods, then due date or the payment, whichever is clear. continuous supply of services, due date payment or happening of the event. So these are the ways tax invoice should be issued. Let us just read what are the contents. पूरा learn करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Contents of tax invoice, and please check around you the tax invoice if you know any. आपके आसपास अगर आपको कोई टैक्स इनवॉइस दिख रहा है तो उसको पूरा चेक करो. Name, address and GSTN number, 15-digit number of supplier, serial number not exceeding 16 characters, multiple series containing alphabet, numerical, hyphen, dash, slash, कुछ भी डाल सकते हैं आप. With serial number होना चाहिए invoice का. Date of issue, name, address and GSTN or unique identity number if the registered of the recipient, name and address of the recipient along with state and code. If such recipient is unregistered and where the value of taxable supply is 50,000 or more, तो उसका भी address चाहिए. Name and address of recipient along with name of state and code. If recipient is unregistered and where the value of the supply is less than 50,000 and the recipient requests that details are to be recorded. 50,000 के ऊपर तो कंपल्सरी है, बट कम में भी देना ही है. HSN code. What is the full form of HSN? I've told you in the first chapter. Harmonized system of nomenclature. It's a coding system we are following from the Custom Tariff Act. So that why coding system is important? HSN code in India are mostly 4-digit, 6-digit. That will decide what rate of GST is charged. Same example I want to give. If I'm taking medicated shampoo and if it comes under medicines, on that HSN code GST chargeable is 5%. But if this shampoo comes in cosmetics, GST chargeable may be 18%. So HSN code will help to decide the levy, the chargeability, the rate of the GST. HSN codes are given. Description of the goods should be there in invoice, quantity and all, total value, taxable value, discount और वो सब के बाद, rate of the tax. If it is intrastate, you will apply CGST and SGST. Interstate, IGST. Amount of tax charge should always be written separately in invoice. Mark it very important for true and false. Can I issue you the bill? 10 calculators at the rate of 112 each. 112 inclusive of tax? Answer is no. Tax invoice may taxable supply and then GST should be shown separately. Place of supply along with the name of state in case of supply in course of interstate. अगर interstate भेज रहे हैं तो कहाँ भेज रहे हैं all. Address of delivery where the same is different from place of supply. Buyer may be different and delivery may be given to third party, bill to ship model. So I have to write that. Whether the tax is payable on RCM, it should be clear. RCM, so who is going to issue the tax invoice? Buyer. Please write it somewhere. ये कहीं पे header footer में लिख के रखो. In RCM, buyer issues tax invoice. All right. Address of the delivery ये किया हमने. Signatures और digital signature. Digital signatures कहाँ लगेगी? कभी कभी लगती है, जो भी है उनके लिए. Not required in case of e-invoice. E-invoice जहाँ invoice या online generate हो रही है वहाँ digital signature, otherwise जो भी person बनाता है उसकी signature. And quick response code, QR code, having embodied invoice reference number. QR code से scan करके automatic invoice reference number आता है, and this is required in case of e-invoicing. I'll talk everything about this in detail tomorrow. But how is this all? Is it very easy or not? बस एक बार के लिए कुछ ऐसे contents मालूम होने चाहिए. Need not buttify this list. Yeah, HSN code are used. Registered person shall be required to mention. It is necessary to mention the HSN code. Class of goods or services for which specified number of digits of HSN code shall be required is mentioned. Okay. HSN code is also required for the class of registered person. Would not be required to mention HSN code. कुछ लोगों को जरूरी नहीं है, कुछ गुड्स को जरूरी नहीं है, कुछ सर्विसेज को जरूरी नहीं है. This is important. If your turnover is less than equal to 5 crores, then B2B business to business supply में 4 digit जरूरी है, B2C में 4 digit. If your turnover exceeds 5 crores, then B2B or B2C you need to issue 6 digit. Our own business, the turnover is more than say 15 crores, just an example. So we are having 6 digit HSN code for our every product, and there are more than 50 products. तो सबके HSN code ready हैं और वो कितने digit हैं? 6 digit. HSN code is clear. Now tax invoice कब issue करना है? When? Time limit 30 days, 45 days, all is clear. HSN code क्या रखना है? Clear. And now the last one for invoices. How many copies of invoice? It is supply of goods, triplicate. Original for the recipient, duplicate for the transporter, triplicate for the supplier. In case of services, दो ही चाहिए. Original for the recipient, duplicate for the supplier. Services में goods तो मिलना नहीं है, तो 2 copies of original invoices enough. And serial number you have to furnish electronically. Serial number of the invoice issued during a tax period shall be furnished electronically through the common portal in form number GSTR1. Details of outward supply. So automatically, if I am making the bill, the serial number is generated online through the portal. और अब तो सब लिंक है, e-invoice, e-way bill, QR code सब लिंक है. तो पोर्टल से सीरियल नंबर ऑटोमेटिक जनरेट होता है. So that through portal only, if I have generated 18 outward bills, they are dropped in my outward return, and same are auto-populated in the buyer's purchases, GSTR, because they will claim ITC, no? Are you all with me? GSTR1 is detail of outward supply return. So, serial number will be given by the system. And suppose you are issuing invoice in case of export and SEZ. Yes. In that case, you cannot charge any tax. So supply meant for export or supply to SEZ developer and all you will write. Supply meant for export to SEZ developer authorized under a bond or letter of undertaking. You all know letter of undertaking सब आप पढ़ोगे final में. So an export invoice are same as tax invoice, however, where recipient is unregistered and value of supply is 50,000 or more. Instead of name of the state and its code, in case of export invoice, name of the country, destination, all details. So whenever you are generating tax invoice inside SEZ and all, you will write separately on the top, and you will not charge tax in that because the goods and services are exported. All clear? Yes. Everything is clear until now about the tax invoice. Last part now they say invoice cum bill of supply. If a registered person is supplying both taxable goods as well as exempted goods, okay, in a single, can he issue invoice cum bill of supply? Answer is yes. If I am supplying to you taxable goods, for that part it is tax invoice, and I am also supplying you exempted goods, for that part it is bill of supply, because वो exempted goods के लिए neither I can give you tax invoice nor you can claim ITC because these goods are exempted. So if in one single bill I am selling you taxable and exempted products, then for taxable goods it will be tax invoice, for exempted goods it will be bill of supply. That's why invoice cum bill of supply. ठीक है? Tax invoice. Okay. Now provisions or cases wherein revised tax invoice is to be issued. Okay, let us go to our notebook and write a detail. एक कितना ब्यूटीफुल टेबल हमने पढ़ा है कि रजिस्ट्रेशन कब से एप्लीकेबल है. We have done it in registration chapter, we have done it in time of supply, and we have also done it in section 9. अब ये क्या है देखो, when the person is liable for registration. So that depends ना कि उसने invoice के लिए एंड रजिस्ट्रेशन के लिए कब अप्लाई किया है. I've given a very nice table for this in the registration chapter. Example लिखो please. Revised tax invoice. Write down the heading. Why I'm making you write the example? Because these are asked in exam. Example. Person becomes liable on 1st July 21. 1st July 21, your turnover exceeds 20 lakhs, 40 lakhs in case of goods and so on, and you become liable on 1/7 for registration. Registration लेना जरूरी है. Now, applied for registration. 25th July 21 को तो you applied for registration. स्टार मार्केट इसको 5 स्टार किटकैट सब खिलाओ और यहाँ लिखो 5 मार्क्स के लिए. ये क्वेश्चन आता है when there is something tough in the exam, technical in the exam, then there is something very scoring like this also. Person becomes liable on 1st July for registration, applied for registration on 25th July 21. Okay, registration certificate issued within 1 month. Within 1 month of becoming liable. You remember? If you apply within 1 month of becoming liable, then your registration certificate is issued on say 27th July. But registration or you are liable to pay the tax, registration applicable कहाँ से होगा? 1st July 21. All clear? This is the answer. Answer. Clear है? 1st July you became liable. 25 days में 30 days के अंदर you applied. I want all of you to write within 1 month. Within 30 days you have to apply. Certificate may be granted 27th or may be granted 27th August. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. August लिख लो ना. Certificate कभी भी मिला. But have you applied within 1 month? Yes. Registration applicable from 1st July. But you were unregistered till 27th August. No. 27th August को you were granted certificate GSTN and your registration was valid. Now, from 1st July 21 to 27th August 21, revised tax invoice can be issued. Revised invoice और issue करना ही पड़ेगा. Sir, you have been granted the registration on 27th August, but now you are liable to pay the tax on 1st July. The day became you liable for registration. Within 30 days you apply and got the registration, no? So the day you become liable, that is the day, and you are liable to charge the GST. पर मेरे पास registration number तो August में है. So from 1st July to 27th August, I need to issue revised tax invoice. Now I can charge tax. Yes. मैम ये एक एक इनवॉइस करना पड़ेगा? नो, यू कैन इशू कंसोलिडेटेड tax invoice. Is my speed fine? पहले revised tax invoice clear है या नहीं आप सबके? Is revised tax invoice clear? Now, consolidated tax invoice. Now, in this period, you have sold the goods to unregistered buyer. तो उसको अलग अलग invoice he doesn't need. No, buyer is unregistered. He doesn't need separate invoice. So revised consolidated one invoice can you issue? Yes, it's allowed. In this there are some points I'll tell you, but these are the beautiful examples and asked for 5 months. ये consolidated tax invoice कौन कब क्या come, but ये basic clear है. Yes, consolidated tax invoice में we will write the flow chart. तो उसके लिए ऐसे 4-5 लाइन छोड़ दो और यहाँ पे B केस लिखो. Same dates I want to take. Liable for registration. I want all of you to quickly write 1st July 21. Applied 1st October 21. After 30 days. 30 days के अंदर अप्लाई करना था नहीं किए. 1st अक्टूबर को आराम से अप्लाई करेंगे. रजिस्ट्रेशन रिसीव्ड 15th October 21. What is the date of registration? 15th October 21. Now not 1st July. If you apply within 30 days, then 1st July. Otherwise not 1st July. So now it's 15th October, date of the registration. And then can I say no need of revised tax invoice? From 1st July to 15th October, you don't need to issue the revised tax invoice. ये सब आपके लिए वंडरला के स्लाइड में नहीं गिरना है, हमको कोई पिटफॉल में नहीं गिरना है एग्जाम में. These are like, हमारे हाथ के मार्क्स. ये पूरा चैप्टर इतना ब्यूटीफुल. Tomorrow I'll show you how the e-way bill and invoice and linking is like simple topic. Within 1 month of liable date, if you are applying and if you are granted the registration, date of registration is the date of the liability. So for that period, revised invoice or consolidated and all. Here too, you didn't apply within 1 month. So the day you are liable for registration is 15th October, so no need for revised invoice. So ma'am, some of you must be thinking, ma'am, who would be honest to apply within 30 days? See, you are liable on 1st July. And if you are getting the certificate on 15th October, July to October, these many months you are not able to issue the tax invoice means no one will be ready to buy from you. Because that chain, if I am selling you, sir, tax invoice nahi hai, मेरे को अभी तक registration नहीं मिला. Rahim is saying, मेरे से खरीद लो मैं tax invoice, so you will obviously buy from Rahim. Rahim say if you buy and if he is issuing you tax invoice, you will be able to claim ITC. So people won't go for the second case. And anyhow, no revised tax invoice. Yeah, here tax invoice. अब consolidation में 2-3 concept है, I will explain. चलो, let us read it from our material. Very interesting. कहाँ थे हम? Yeah. A registered person may within 1 month from date of issuance and in such manner as may be prescribed issue a revised tax invoice already issued during the period with the effective date till the date of issuance. The provision is necessary as the person who becomes liable has to apply for registration within 30 days. When such application is made within the time 30 days, effective date of registration is the day you become liable. अब यहाँ मैंने point में लिखा है, the same point I have given in table form in the registration chapter. And thus there would be time lag between the date of grant of certificate and effective date of the registration. Date of registration is the day you are liable, 1st July. But grant is 25th September, ऐसे जो भी. So for supply made by person during intervening period, law enables them to issue revised invoice. Rock Limited commenced business on 1st April. Turnover exceeded 20 lakhs on 5th November. Thus, it became liable for registration 5th November. It applied for registration on 28th November. Superb! 5th November से 28th November. Within 30 days, आपने apply कर लिए. Thus, it becomes liable to register on 5th November. Yeah, and it is granted registration on 3rd December. Since it applied for registration within 30 days, it was granted registration with effect from 5th November. Rock Limited may issue revised tax invoice in respect of date between. See, आराम से करो. 5th November को आप liable हो गए. You have applied on 20th November. Registration मिला 3rd December. So you are liable for grant of registration on 5th November. पर मिला तो 3rd December. So 5th November to 3rd December, you are required to issue revised tax invoice. All clear to all of you? Check this example. I'll just be back. Revised tax. It's as good as we have solved one more problem. Did you get it? He was liable to get registered on 5th November. Within 30 days, he applied 25th November and got it on 3rd December. So from 5th November to 3rd December, he is like date of registration is 5th November. So he has to issue the revised tax invoice. The revised tax invoice may the word written should be revised invoice, then name, nature, serial number, date of invoice, and all the other details. This I have just given for reading. You should know the meaning. Okay? Revised tax invoice on issuance of RC. Every registered person has been granted registration with effect from date earlier than the date of issuance of certificate of registration may issue revised invoice in respect of taxes effect during the period starting from date of registration till date of grant of the certificate. Date of registration क्या है यहाँ पे? 5th of November. Grant of registration क्या है? 3rd December. ठीक है? Right? And now, consolidated revised tax invoice. Registered person may issue a consolidated revised tax invoice in respect of all the taxable supplies made to a recipient who is not registered. Recipient is not registered, no? So forget about issuing individual tax invoice for that revised period. Issue consolidated invoice. In case of interstate supply, where value of supply does not exceed 2,50,000, a consolidated revised invoice may be issued to unregistered recipient. Okay? Routine consolidated invoice can be issued to unregistered person, but if in intrastate. And if it is interstate, then if the supply does not exceed 2,50,000, consolidated may be issued. But if the supply to even though is unregistered, but अगर 2.5 लाख से ज़्यादा आपने सेल किया है, so you have to issue the revised tax invoice separate. I would give you a chart for this as I promised. और इसको करते हैं हम यहाँ पे. आ जाओ. है ना? यहाँ लिखा है हमने. Consolidate tax invoice for unregistered buyer. Unregistered buyer को we can issue consolidated revised tax invoice. है ना? Is it clear to all of you? To unregistered buyer. Now, if it is intrastate, yes, consolidated revised invoice can be issued. Intrastate है. अगर interstate है, if you have interstate sold your goods, then value of supply कितना लिमिट बोला है आपको? Value of supply is does not exceed 2,50,000. Less than 2,50,000? Yes. वैल्यू ऑफ सप्लाई टू अनरजिस्टर्ड, ये सब अनरजिस्टर्ड की बात हो रही है, अनरजिस्टर्ड बायर विद इन द स्टेट है, कंसोलिडेटेड इनवॉइस दे दो। आउटसाइड द स्टेट है, इंटरस्टेट अप टू 250,000, यस, एंड वैल्यू ऑफ सप्लाई, वैल्यू ऑफ सप्लाई greater than or equal to 2,50,000, separate revised tax invoice. Write it, understand it, consolidated revised tax invoice. कुछ डाउट है तो पूछो। वन सेकेंड ना डियर स्टूडेंट्स, आप पढ़ो। Consolidated revised tax invoice can be issued from the date of the registration till the date of grant of certificate if the buyer is unregistered. उसको invoice का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है, तो एक ही invoice you can issue within the state. If it is outside the state, then if the value of the supply is less than 250, still you can issue consolidated invoice. If not, you have to issue invoice greater than 250 है तो separate revised invoice करना है. That's all about tax invoice, revised tax invoice, consolidated revised tax invoice. Chalo, let us go to the next part of this. Revised invoice on account of demand. Okay, mention of inadmissibility of ITC. I told you if there is a fraud or suppression of the GST or wrong claiming of ITC and you are liable to pay tax, वो टैक्स का आपको आईटीसी नहीं मिलेगा। मैम मैंने जीएसटी तो भरा ना, नो। An invoice or debit note is issued in persons of tax payable in accordance of 74, 129, 139. Boldly write on the invoice input tax credit is not admissible, नहीं मिलता। When determination of tax not paid or short paid or ITC wrongly availed, detention, seizure and release of the goods. You know, you have not disclosed these purchases, but they were found in your godown. So now government wants GST on this. Okay, I will pay GST, but this is my purchase. Please allow me ITC. Nahi milta. Why did you suppress your purchases? Confiscation of goods and then levy of the penalty and all. In all these cases, even if you pay taxes, you are not allowed to claim it. Aggregate turnover of Mahesh Limited exceeds 20 lakhs on 10th October. This is as good as a nice problem. It applied for registration on 27th October, मतलब within 30 days कर लिए, and registration is granted on 1st November. You are required to advise Mahesh as to what is the effective date of registration, 10th October. Within 30 days, if you apply, then 10th October. If it has also sought to advise regarding the period of yes, from 10th October to 1st November, you have to issue revised tax invoice. Dekho. Where applicant submits application, you can write it in nice one line points in the exam rather than writing like this para answer. Within 30 days from the date he becomes effective date of registration will be 10th October. He becomes liable. Further, it applied for registration within 30 days. Effective date of registration is 10th October, and every registered person has granted registration from the date earlier than the date of issuance. The revised tax invoice will be issued within 1 month. Yeah, I missed telling you one very important point कि ये जो revised tax invoice देना है ना, from the date of the registration till the date of grant of certificate. This should be done within 30 days from the grant of the certificate. अभी certificate आ गया ना, तो date of registration और grant of registration इन दोनों के बीच के लिए revised tax invoice करना है तो करके खत्म करो. I want to repeat, the day you are granted the registration certificate, that is 1st November, from there 1st December tak you have to issue the revised tax invoice. Same is the next one. Ramesh, please read the answers point by one. मैंने अपने वे में समझाया, आप जरूर करना है इसको. Problem number 3. Ramesh Grain started its business of supply of goods on 1st August. Its turnover exceeded 20 lakhs on 5th September. It applied for registration on 28th September. Gone. The day you are liable, within 1 month you have not applied, and registration was granted on 6th October. Guide the company regarding, nothing is applicable. As per section 31, every registered person has been granted registration with effect from date earlier than date of issue of registration shall issue revised tax invoice and all. In the given case, he has not applied only within 30 days. Yes. So the date of effective registration will be sorry. The turnover exceeded the limit on 5th September. 1st August को तो started the business. 5th September को 20 lakh का business हो गया. And he applied on 28th September. So within 30 days he has applied. So 5th September is the date of the registration. 5th September से लेकर 6th October. 5th September से लेकर registration is granted on 6th of October. Yes. 6th and 6 November के पहले revised tax invoice देना पड़ेगा. Clear है? 5th September to 6th October के लिए you have to issue revised tax invoice, and 6th October to 6th November within 30 days of receiving of the certificate you have to issue. Provisions wherein no invoice is required. Tax invoice की जरूरत ही नहीं है. We are still in the topic called as tax invoice. No tax invoice is required if the value of the goods which you have supplied is less than 200 rupees. If the recipient is unregistered, if the recipient does not require invoice. So simple, and can't say how many times they have asked this question in the past exam. All past exam questions, important RTP questions are covered in this. What are the 3 cases wherein tax invoice is not required? Irrespective कि मैं तो registered supplier हूँ, but my supply value is less than 200. Recipient is unregistered. Recipient doesn't need invoice for whatever may be the reason. Then instead, such registered person shall issue consolidated invoice. So in whole day, I have made 100 rupees sale, 50 rupees sale, 20 rupees sale, 120, 110. Total करके can I issue one consolidated invoice at the end of the day? Invoice तो करना पड़ेगा so that your tax and all will tally. Small taxpayers, small retailers doing large number of small transactions, and per transaction is less, they can issue consolidated invoice at the end of the day for all the transactions. However, they should also issue an invoice where customer demands. However, this invoice is not available to the supplier engaged in making services by way of admission to the multiplex screen. Ma'am, multiplex की ticket तो 150 rupees की होती है. Somewhere 130, morning shows 90 rupees. So there, are we issuing separate invoices? Answer is yes. But ma'am, in that tax invoice, we have never seen the GSTN number and rate and all. So there are few invoices in which government is saying no need to mention the details of the buyer. आएगा अभी आगे. Your train tickets is never having your name, and मतलब name तो रहता है, but ज़्यादा detail tax कितना है वो सब अलग कहाँ रहता है? They are charging. It's all inclusive. So multiplex ticket, even if it is less than 200, they need to issue separate ticket. These are small hand-picked up पे एक MCQ बना के they can ask you. Suresh trader is dealing with stationery items. He has sold. Determine in respect of which he has to issue tax invoice. Mahesh trader is a registered dealer under composition level. No need. Kalpesh needs an unregistered trader. अब unregistered buyer है, उसको invoice नहीं चाहिए, हाँ. And these all the conditions are and. Recipient is unregistered, but the value is above 200. So can you issue a consolidated invoice? No. Hussain Painter? No. Rakhi Charitable Trust 135 unregistered भी है, amount भी 200 से कम है, कोई जरूरत नहीं है इनवॉइस देने. Meena, a student, unregistered. $140 not required. In given case, Suresh traders can issue consolidated tax invoice only for 195 and 140. 195 and 140, as the value of these supplied to these recipients is less than 200 and they are unregistered. As regards Mahesh traders, although the value supplied is less than 200, Mahesh traders is registered, though in composition, but he is registered, no? So you need to issue the tax invoice. 1 second, today lot of buttons are open. Mahesh traders is registered, no? So we have to issue the invoice. Unregistered hai, so you can avoid. So as regard Mahesh traders, although the value of supply is less than 200, Mahesh traders is registered under GST. So consolidated tax invoice cannot be issued. And consolidated invoice cannot be issued for Kalpesh needs and Hussain because the amount is greater than 200. I want to repeat, for the whole day consolidated invoice can be issued if the value is less than 200 and the buyer is unregistered and he doesn't need the invoice. You are unregistered, but I have sold you 800. No, I can't issue you. You have purchased only 50 rupees, but you are registered. I have to issue you separate invoice. Clear what are the cases? Will you read and come? I will surely revise all this tomorrow with debit note, credit note and more in detail. A registered person shall issue a separate invoice for supplying both taxable as well as exempt goods to an unregistered person. Is it true and false? False. In a single bill, if I am issuing taxable and exempt goods, I can issue tax invoice cum bill of supply. Tax invoice cum bill of supply. NBFC can issue consolidated tax invoice at the end of the every month. Yes, कोई भी कर सकते हैं. When supplier taxable services insurance a banking company, the said supplier can issue tax invoice for the supplier service made at the end of the month, whether issued or not, whether serially numbered or not, whether containing. See, banks and all, I want you all to highlight this point. Banks जो services देते हैं ना, एक check bounce हुआ तो they are not going to issue you tax invoice for checks bouncing charges along with GST. So sometimes quarterly invoice they will give you, in RTGS NIF charges also you are paying GST. So is GST seen separately? No. Are the banks issuing you bill? No. Is it necessary to follow all the tax invoice rules for banks and all? No. They are giving lot of leniency. उसके बारे में मैंने आगे आपको दिया है. Now, very simple, so we can complete it now. Tax invoice, revised tax invoice, consolidated invoice, and revised consolidated. 4 are over. Next 2 or 3 are very simple. Bill of supply. Bill of supply, who will issue? Person who cannot issue composition. में जो जाते हैं ना, he cannot issue tax invoice. Composition person cannot charge tax from you, so he cannot issue tax invoice. But invoice so he has to give, no, because he is registered. He will give bill of supply. And if you are supplying exempted goods, So bill of supply instead of tax invoice to be issued in case of exempted goods or composite supply. Yes, bill of supply issued by person does not contain detail pertaining to rate and all. Whether further value to be mentioned in bill of supply is not a taxable value. Ramesh and Sons is manufacturer and is opted for composition levy. It will issue a bill of supply to buyer and not tax invoice. So if you are going for composition or if you are supplying exempted goods, what is the document for you? Bill of supply. No bill of supply value is less than 200. Registered person may not issue bill of supply also if the value of goods is less than 200. Okay? Contents of bill of supply, name and address and GST, serial number, date of issue, HSN code, description, value, signature. No rate I want and no taxable supply. कोई taxable supply नहीं है. आराम से पढ़ना, घर में कुछ डाउट है तो पूछना. Bill of supply, 2 cases. Exempted goods, consolidated. Done. Any tax invoice or any other similar documents can be issued. It will be treated as bill of supply. Tax invoice को छोड़ के कुछ भी दे दो. As you are going to theaters and you are getting that ticket, no? Ticket is so many times when you book online, it's given in your mobile. That is like bill of supply. कभी कभी अगर आप कोई भी other way में दे रहे हो. Receipt voucher when you receive advance. A registered person on the receipt of advance related to supply of goods and service will issue a receipt voucher. Name and address of the supplier, serial number, date of issue, amount of advance, rate, किसके लिए आ रहा है, क्या आ रहा है, हाँ? Now, very important are these 2 points for exam. पहली बात, receipt of voucher is received in case of advance. Advance of goods, no GST is payable. Advance of services, GST is payable. So rate वगैरह चाहिए. But ma'am, I have booked a function hall for December and right now it's June. I am paying you advance to function hall. I don't know I am going to take catering service kitna or stage and mic service kitna. अगर confusion है, rate of tax is not determinable. Take tax rate 18%. Nature of supply is not determinable. Intra या inter rate. Take it as interstate. इसको लिख के करते हैं. 2 मिनट लगेगा. लिख के करते हैं. आ जाओ, आपने ऊपर लिखा है ना, कहीं आपने लिखा था ना, बिल ऑफ सप्लाई, ये मैंने अभी आपको पढ़ाया. एग्जेम्प्टेड गुड्स और रिसीट वाउचर में जगह नहीं है ना, तो विल राइट इट हियर. राइट डाउन. 2 minutes it will take and it will be clear. Receipt voucher issued by supplier when advance received. Issued by supplier when advances received. No GST on advance for goods. Yes, GST on advance for services. जो भी आपने एडवांस में ही पैसे दे दिए हैं, फंक्शन हॉल 6 months prior you have booked. If rate not clear, take 18%. 18% take. If situation not clear कि क्या करूं, इंट्रास्टेट इंटरस्टेट, take interstate supply of service. ये फिक्स्ड है. नहीं मालूम है ऐसे करो. You can't say मैम अभी तो एडवांस है, I will not pay GST, I will pay everything GST in December. No. If I have received advance for goods, no GST. But even in advance for goods, in both the cases, receipt voucher supplier will issue. Yes. If the rate is not clear, charge 18% in case of services. If situation is not clear, take it as interesting. इसी के साथ we can do refund voucher. Who will give refund voucher? On return of advance, supplier issues refund voucher. इतना सिंपल है. That's why I'm doing it now. ये क्लियर है? रिसीट वाउचर टैक्स क्लियर नहीं है, 18% इंटरेस्ट रेट ले लो. Refund voucher, if no supply is made and advance is to be refunded, when on receipt of advance payment with respect to supply of goods, the registered person issues a receipt voucher, but subsequently no supply is made, no tax invoice is issued, the said registered person may issue to the person who made supply a refund voucher. Name and address of the supplier, 16-digit number, date of issue, number of the receipt voucher. Because refund voucher is related to the receipt voucher, तो वो भी ले लो. Description of the goods of the service, amount of refund, rate of the taxes, and signature and all. Clear? Who will issue the, in case of reverse charge mechanism, who will issue the invoice? The buyer. Purchase from unregistered supply under RCM, buyer to prepare the invoice, put it in block. A registered person who is liable to pay tax under 934 shall issue an invoice in respect of goods or services or both received by him from supplier who is not registered on the date of receipt of goods or both. Thus, the recipient is liable to pay the tax and recipient will only issue the invoice if the supplier is unregistered. Issuance of payment voucher. अब ये नया डॉक्यूमेंट आ गया, मैंने नहीं लिखा है. पेमेंट वाउचर कौन देगा? Who will give the payment voucher? The recipient. The registered person who is liable to pay tax shall issue payment voucher at the time of making payment to supplier. What are the ingredients? Name, address, serial number, date of issue, rate, place of supply, and all. ठीक है? Yeah. This we will do tomorrow. GTA and special cases and debit note and credit note ये कल करेंगे. Last, before we close for today, just write down this refund voucher के बाद in case of RCM, reverse charge mechanism. I think third or fourth time we are drawing this diagram. Supplier supplying goods or services to the recipient. At the time of payment, recipient will issue payment voucher. When receiver will make the payment to supplier, receiver will issue payment voucher. Receiver will issue tax invoice. But it will be treated as purchases for him. I want you all to please correlate so many chapters in case of RCM. Suppliers aggregate turnover, this will be included. And though tax invoice is issued by the recipient, payment voucher, this is a purchase for the recipient. तो recipient के turnover में नहीं आएगा. Clear to all of you RCM concept? Yes? That's all for today. How many things we have done? Tax invoice, revised tax invoice, consolidated invoice, consolidated revised tax invoice, receipt voucher, refund voucher, payment voucher. Yes, there are some concepts called as delivery challan, debit note, credit note. We will continue that tomorrow with e-invoicing and other details. Okay, read this, read contents. Now in refund voucher, you should mention receipt voucher. Contents, I don't think they should ask you to justify. But एक बार reading कर लेना है. And questions, trust me, the first 3 questions which I have given in the class, as it is, date of registration to this, revised tax invoice you have to issue, Consolidated tax invoice you can issue. इंट्रास्टेट है तो 250 से कम है तो एक, वो सब आप याद रखो, कल इसको और रिवाइज करो. ओके, I'll stay 5 minutes after I close the recording. Anyone is having any doubt? And now please do cumulative studies when you are doing this tax invoice. Section 31, today's class. Are you able to link it with the time of the supply? Section 12 and 13. Levy, section 9394. In RCM, how you are living, right? Please do that. You will enjoy attempting your exam. Thank you so much for watching the video till end, taking down all the notes. And those who are watching it as recording, click the picture of the written notes and send it to me. I want you all to be committed with me, accountable to me. Are you writing the notes or not? Right? Thank you so much. See, when you have enrolled in concept classes, no? I have taken that responsibility to see that transformation in you, in your confidence, in your results, and seeing you reach the next level. Feels so good when my students are qualified and they complete this journey in a superb way and go on ahead. Yes, that's what I wish for all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.